Are food prices getting just a little bit too high? Find out how shoppers feel and what the Department of Consumer Affairs has to say about it. All that and more in the Bahamas tonight.
Also tonight, find out what will not be taxed by VAT.
And security changes coming for the College of the Bahamas. The Bahamas Tonight starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Every Day.
Good evening, I'm Keishla Adderley.
And I'm Andrew Knowles. Thanks for joining us.
Well, topping the news tonight, if you're finding it difficult to fill your grocery cart at your local grocer for which you're accustomed to paying, then you're not alone.
Tonight, our Janaea Noel Ferguson takes a closer look at bread basket items and what some merchants are charging.
Consumers report that they're concerned about the rise in cost of everyday bread basket items such as eggs, cheese, rice, and are finding it more difficult to make a dollar stretch.
Very expensive right now, and it's very difficult because I'm not employed. So it's very difficult.
But Chief Inspector from the Consumer Affairs Department, Sydney McKinsey, says regular checks of various food stores are taken daily, and for the most part, store owners have been in compliance.
We don't find any extreme markups because the markups that we find placed on the bread basket items are the approved prices.
So here's the breakdown. Whatever price the exporter would have paid for, say, cheese, he would pay a 10% duty, no stamp tax, and if the item is sold wholesale, they can raise that price by 13% or 23% retail. Officials from the Consumer Affairs Department say it may feel that prices are up because retailers may be charging at the maximum range. So where they might have increased costs by, say, 8% in the past for a retail item, that price may now be up to its 13% maximum.
We have no problem, no difficulty with the storekeeper so long as you don't exceed the maximum retail price. Now, if you find that you have exceeded the maximum retail price, that is a violation and we take action.
Now, while there might be a general concern from the public over the rising cost of food, officials from the Consumer Affairs Department say they only have control over items that fall under the bread and basket category.
With respect to those non-bread basket items not subject to price control, right now the law simply requires that they carry a price marking on them.
So we can't tell the storekeepers what to sell them at.
And then there's VAT, just months away from implementation, and merchants are reportedly already padding prices.
VAT is not a creature in Bahamian statute. In that regard, no merchant, no service provider have any authority to add any surcharge with respect to VAT on any goods sold or services being provided to the consumers.
Now, Consumer Affairs officials say that if you do have a general concern, you're asked to make those concerns known to the department and be sure to save your receipt. Janaea Noel Ferguson, ZNS Network News.
Well, to better educate consumers on their rights, Deputy Permanent Secretary in the Department of Labor with responsibility for the department, Alvius Forbes, says the month of March has been dedicated to Consumer Protection Month, and a number of activities are planned to keep consumers up to date as it relates to pricing. An exhibition will be on display at the Mullet Marathon later this month, and the department will also be visiting several schools. Forbes says a committee has also been instituted to ensure that consumers aren't taken advantage of.
We'll produce a supplement called the Consumer Voice in commemoration with our ongoing educational effort to bring this sort of awareness to the consumers so they could be a little bit more alert and have some knowledge that would assist them in their spending and consumption habits. We have reconstituted the Consumer Protection Commission. That commission is a body that can, in fact, assist consumers where they feel that they would have been aggrieved by merchants gouging them, charging them exorbitant prices, not giving services for which they have paid for. The Consumer Protection Body can, in fact, embark on taking their matters to be submitted to court if necessary.
Value-added tax, or VAT, took center stage at the Progressive Liberal Party's Killarney Branch Forum last evening. Member of Parliament for Golden Isles and State Minister for Finance Michael Halkitis gave his overview on why the government is looking to implement VAT while addressing a number of other concerns. He fielded questions on what exactly will be exempt from VAT tax, but he said despite what is said, there is misinformation which is being linked to the new tax.
It will not be on everything. Basic food items are exempt, medical services are exempt, educational services, things like insurance, other financial services are exempt. As fast as we tell people all of the exemptions, you have someone out there who has an agenda, who is saying to the Bahamian people everything is going to go up. And I think it's unfortunate because this is not an exercise that we're doing because we feel like doing this. This is something that we've explained before that we believe is absolutely necessary for the financial health of the country.
Now, a number of residents turned out at the meeting at Casuarina's on West Bay Street. Minister Halkitis was also questioned at length on how much customs duty would go down by if the VAT implementation deadline remains in place.
We would reduce customs duties by an average of 17%. And again, that is something that we have to constantly repeat because, you know, there's an impression being spread out there that nothing will change. And in fact, we've said from the very beginning, customs duty rates should come down. If there's any decision to change the date of implementation or to change the rate, that's another decision. Our job is to make sure that July 1st, if we have to go, we'll be ready to go.
In a report released this week, the United States again named the Bahamas as a major money laundering state whose financial institutions engage in currency transactions involving significant amounts of proceeds from international narcotics trafficking. In its 2014 International Narcotics Control Strategy Report, which focuses on money laundering and financial crimes, the U.S. State Department listed the Bahamas among major money laundering countries and jurisdictions around the world. Clint Watson tonight takes a look at the report and how a major practice that many have warned needs regulating is prominently featured.
The U.S. Narcotics Report on Money Laundering says the Bahamas is an important regional and offshore financial center with an economy heavily reliant on tourism and the financial sector. However, it notes that the Bahamas remains a transit point for illegal drugs bound for the United States and other international markets. A particular note, the report says the major sources of laundered proceeds are drug trafficking, gun trafficking, illegal gambling, and human smuggling. The U.S. report confirms that there is significant black market for smuggled cigarettes and guns. Money laundering trends include the purchase of real estate, large vehicles, boats, and jewelry, as well as the processing of money through a complex web of legitimate businesses and international business companies registered in the offshore financial sector. The report says drug traffickers and other criminal organizations take advantage of the large number of IBCs and offshore banks registered in the Bahamas to launder significant sums of money, despite strict know your customer and transaction reporting requirements. The archipelagic nature of the Bahamas and its proximity to the United States makes the entire country accessible by all types of watercraft, including small sailboats and powerboats, thereby making smuggling and moving bulk cash relatively easy. The report points out that gaming is legal for tourists with 4 large casinos, and one more coming on stream in December by Bahamar, set to be the largest casino in the Caribbean. However, it notes that current law excludes Bahamian citizens, permanent residents, and temporary workers from gambling in the Bahamas. However, it outlines that illicit gaming operations based on U.S.-based lottery results and the Internet, locally known as web shops, flourish in the Bahamas, despite a referendum that would have legalized web shop gaming, failing in January 2013. As recommendations, the report says the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas should provide adequate resources to its law enforcement, judicial, and prosecutorial bodies in order to enforce existing legislation and to safeguard the financial system from possible abuses. The report also notes that it expects gaming will expand in 2014 due to the growth of casino gaming and possibly from the legalization of web shop gaming. With this expansion, the report says the government should ensure proper safeguards are in place and provide additional suspicious transaction report training, enhance and introduce new anti-money laundering laws and practices. Finally, ensuring a public registry of all beneficial owners of all entities licensed in the offshore financial sector. Clint Watson, ZNS Network News.
Despite the economic climate and a number of lending houses downsizing, Royal Bank of Canada has invested another $3 million into the country. Last evening, its new relocated branch officially opened at Old Fort Bay Town Centre. More than 100 clients, along with government officials, including Prime Minister the Right Honourable Perry Christie, were on hand for the opening. Prime Minister Christie noted the changing face of banking and highlighted some concerns. However, he applauded Royal Bank executives for the company's strong presence in the Bahamas, stating that the economic tide is turning.
Meeting I had with you earlier this year, where we spoke about the future. And we spoke about downsizing and the challenges that banks were facing. And I was giving you an indication then that I thought in the Bahamas that the future appeared to be rapidly looking better and better for us in terms of the economy. And even the International Monetary Fund, notwithstanding the anxiety over the discussions on VAT, the International Monetary Fund is projecting growth of some consequence in our economy.
President of RBC's Caribbean region, Kirk Duchek, said the opening marked a milestone in RBC's commitment to service its clients in the Bahamas, where it's operated for more than 100 years. However, he did address concerns raised by RBC's recent performance results in parts of the Caribbean, reiterating that there is really no concerns here.
We, like other businesses, are navigating those economic challenges, navigating through some performance challenges in some of these countries, and we are taking proactive steps to improve our performance and make RBC stronger for the long term. So you may ask, well, what does that mean for the Bahamas? As we talked about, we've been in the Bahamas for over 106 years. This is by far, our strongest and highest contributing country and region within the Caribbean.
A man died suddenly early this morning when his silver Kia vehicle crashed into a lamp pole on Prince Charles Drive. Relatives of the victim flocked to the scene, visibly distraught after learning of their loved one's untimely passing. Police were on the scene conducting their investigation into the crash, which appeared to be minor. An official autopsy will have to be performed to determine the exact cause of death. Family members at the scene, too emotional to speak with ZNS News, identified the victim as 39-year-old David Duncombe, an employee in Lyford Key. They say Duncombe had just left home feeling fine on his way to give his brother a ride to work. Road Traffic Officer Inspector Harry Williams.
The information that the police received sometime after 6:30 a.m. The police received a telephone call that a vehicle was parked on the northern side of the road. As a result, police officers came, made a check, and met a lone male in the vehicle. The vehicle was still on. The vehicle had collided with a pole. It was later confirmed by EMS that the body had expired. This is the initial stage of the investigation. We can't say whether or not there are any injuries to the body.
In our first look at weather, an area of high pressure continues to influence our weather, generating mostly sunny days and some mild nights, but that will change come Friday as we expect a frontal system into the area. But outside of our studios just now, near clear skies, temperatures 77 degrees here, relative humidity 61%, winds out of the south-southeast at 3 knots, barometric pressure 1,017.0 millibars, that's 30.03 inches, and it is steady. But stay tuned, temperatures around the family violence, travel and boating forecast is still to come.
And also ahead tonight, plans to cut down crime at COB. We've got the details coming up.
And then the country celebrates World Tennis Day. You're watching The Bahamas Tonight.
This segment of the news is brought to you by Shell Quality Fuels.